This episode of Pucks Out Podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Action 24/7, Tennessee's only local, legal sportsbook. Use code Pucks Out when you make your first deposit, and our friends over at Action 24/7 will give you a 50% boost up to $800 on your first deposit. That's right, up to $400 extra dollars when you use code Pucks Out. And this week, once again, some amazing promos. Be sure to check out our Twitter and as well as Action 24/7 to find out all the promos for the week. And did you know you can gamble with cash? Are you tired of waiting on your sportsbook? You won but can't get your money? No more waiting with Action 24/7. If you want to gamble with cash deposits and withdrawals, get started with Tennessee's local sportsbook today. Check out the show description for the link in the cash locations. Once again, use code PUCKSOUT. That's PUCKSOUT when you make your first deposit, and our friends at Action 24/7 will give you a 50% boost on your first deposit up to $800. What are you waiting for?
From the Standing Stone Farm Studio right outside downtown Nashville, it's time for the most ridiculous sports podcast in the world. So sit back, relax, and listen as Bobby Butler and Brandon Bond crack open a cold one and talk all things hockey, pop culture, and complain about everyday situations. It's the Pucks Out Podcast on the Penalty Box Radio Network.
Welcome into the most ridiculous podcast in sports and pop culture. I'm Bobby. He's Brandon.
Hey-o.
You can find us on the three majors of social media at Pucks Out Pod. Now let's crack open this cold Mayday beer and let's get after it. I'm drinking that blue Heffenweiser, the Yodel Yehu Blue.
You're out, dude. You just get we got the Hefeweizen, you can't even say the name. We got the Yodel Blue, blueberry Hefeweizen, everybody. Okay.
So it is
just disregard that stroke.
It is 9:30 in the morning. We usually don't record in the mornings. I still usually don't wake up for another 2 or 3 hours. So I've got an early, it's like we're playing. It works because it's like we're playing an England game today. So we got an early morning game.
Final day of Premier League. Yeah, it is early. I'm messing with you, man. I was surprised you were up because I'm going to be out of I'm going to be out of town, so we had to record this a little earlier than we normally would. So it's not only earlier in the week, but it's also earlier time wise. So I'm with you. But I do like this Yodel Blue for sure. It's a good beer.
It's a very good beer. It's a good morning beer too, apparently.
Oh, okay. Apparently, I mean, yeah.
But don't forget, Pucks Out is brought to you by Mayday Brewery, the official beer of Pucks Out Podcast. Join them every Tuesday for trivia and Thursday for bingo night. We've been teasing it. We don't have an official date yet, but we are in talks to do a host another bingo night.
Our people are talking to their people.
Yeah, our agent, their agent, it's a whole thing. Don't forget to check us out on Patreon to support the show. We can get the show a day early and all the uncut bits. And check us out on Twitch. Give us a follow and hang out with us while we talk hockey, other stuff, play some games. How are you this week, buddy?
Pretty good, man. Had a couple soccer games. Sucked we got rained out last night. Obviously the game finished. But I didn't stick around. I didn't finish until like 11:30 or something. Like I was in Nashville at like 5:30, man. I can't, I just couldn't do it. So, but it was good. It was good as usual. Been watching you stream. Hey man, I saw on Saturday you got you a pretty good little number of viewers
dude. Saturday was a good little day. We got rated. So we're growing, getting it going, having fun. If you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
That's true. But I don't know what I had it's so early. I had something. Normally we can flow back and forth off that. No, missed it, dude. No, went and saw Doctor Strange. So that was cool. But just ready for pool weather, man. It's getting hot. Pools are finally opening up. Loving that. What about you, bro? How you doing?
Oh, pretty good, man. Had to do some stuff yesterday with the wife out in East Tennessee. Was gonna go to that game yesterday. I'm kind of happy I ended up not going all the way down to Nashville. Just to be hanging out in the concourse. because it'd be different, if if it was like the Preds games, we had all inclusive zone tickets where we could just
Sure.
stay in the concourse and get shit faced for a couple hours.
We actually
and we would not have to spend $16 a beer.
we were under the awning, so we actually never had to move from our spot. But I mean, same concept. Obviously, it's not that didn't change. We still didn't have seats, so yeah. So it's but it was cool. I mean, the way at least it wasn't like it was hot, but it wasn't like deathly hot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then it started, and then someone looked at me and was like, man, it feels really good. And it was like getting real breezy when we were at the game. I was like, everybody go ahead and double up on their drink purchases in case this power goes out and all these POS systems are down. All right.
Yeah.
Because I was like, it feels great, but that's not necessarily a good thing. Like, if you want to know that you're going to get to see a full soccer game, it has to feel like the devil's butthole. Okay. You're like, this feels awful. You're like, oh, this game's going to go the whole 9. No problem. No problem.
I had to cut the last night's stream a little short because the storm got really bad out here and cut the internet out. But before we move on, let's do our fit check, dude. What are you wearing today?
Oh yeah, bro. I made Stephanie watch last night when we returned. Hardball, baby. So had to go.
Nice.
Had to go with the old G, baby. Oh. Yeah, so gotta go, rip, obviously, rip. And then went with the old Whalers hat, bro. Had to get the old harp. I was looking for my New Orleans baby cakes hat, but in my sea of hats, I have been unable to pinpoint a direct location on that particular hat.
I think over here there's an inside job, probably from the person I live with, also known as my wife, to hide a lot of my hats. I'm having some trouble finding some of my hats.
That's stupid. That's stupid of her because, I mean, just hiding a few hats is not going to do anything but make you reacquire hats.
More hats.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, well, I have this hat, so maybe it's somewhere. You're just going to buy a different version of a hat. And then when you eventually find these, I mean, hopefully she's not throwing them away. Because look, I think
they're in a box. I
can forgive a lot of things, Megan. A lot of things, racism, sexism, murder, but throwing away hats. That's where I.
That's a bridge too far.
That's a personal moral code that I will not be breaching. So just let her know from me that she's got an enemy for life if that happens.
I woke up this morning, when I knew we were going to be recording, I looked at my closet. I was like, all right, what am I wearing today? Grabbed the greatest of all time, that Tom Brady Bucks jersey. I couldn't decide between his Pats or his Bucks jersey. The Bucks, and I got this dope ass Grizz hat that you got me. I love this hat, dude. It fits well. It's a nice classic logo.
I really like your hat better than my hat. I like my hat better, but it doesn't fit well. Like, and I saw like I got you the quality, the nice. I was like, dude, that's gonna be a good hat. So I'm good. Yeah. I'm glad for you. I'm glad that it's working out.
It's a nice hat.
Maybe Megan will hide it and give it to me. So I'm like, I don't know.
And this is actually, you and Megan have worked out a deal where all my hats are actually going to you. She didn't want to throw them away.
I am shocked and appalled. I would never.
Let's jump into the news.
Everything you need to know about what's happening on the ice. It's time for news from inside the boards.
Some news out of Nashville, which I'm sure the fan base is taking in stride and not overreacting at all on social media. The Preds signed John Hines to a multi-year deal. Personally, I like this.
Damn it! They're going to sign Barry Trotz, and they're going to bring back Peter Laviolette. We're going to win We're going to win a championship, bud.
Hey, 82 or nothing.
Bring back Weber, and we're going to bring back David Legwan, and we're going to win the cup.
Mike Fisher.
We're going to bring back Mike Fisher. Get Carrie Underwood back in here. When Carrie Underwood was in the building, we were winning ball games. All right.
I mean, only for like 2 years when she was in the building. Every other year, not so much.
We're not going to remember those other years, buddy. Bring back Trotzy. I like it too.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Listen, I think he overperformed. This was supposed to be a competitive rebuild. When we first heard that phrase from David Boyle, we all kind of scoffed and said, "Oh, so it's
rolled
gonna be
our
a
eyes."
shit year."
Okay.
But in all essence, it was a like if we had asked me if we were going to be competitive in the division at the end of this year, I would have laughed and said no. And while we were never like in competition to win the division, getting that wild card spot, I mean, it
we
wasn't
didn't embarrass
like
ourselves this season.
Yeah, I mean, we embarrassed ourselves again. The last 5 games of the year against Arizona and then Colorado.
Sure, you're gonna have little stretches like that. I mean, the thing is, we were by far, and I don't think that there's anybody that would argue with me on this. We were the worst team in the playoffs by far.
100%.
There's some teams in there that we could maybe run with a little bit, but there's not a single team that I would bet money on us winning the series against.
So now that let me ask you a question though. If we had ended up getting that wild card one spot in Dallas winning against Colorado, because I think Dallas would have swept. I think Colorado would have swept Dallas as well. Would you still be saying that, or would you just be saying that whichever team got swept? Because I think Colorado's worst team.
I think Calgary. No, I think Calgary would. I think Calgary would have handled us pretty handily too. Dallas. I mean, we've seen Dallas. Dallas gave them a hell of a series because, I mean, we're just seeing how they're scoring and how both teams in this series, and we'll talk about it a little more. But both teams are just scoring in such high clips that, I mean, the Dallas Calgary series you could pretty much lock in under 5.5. You know what I'm saying? I think it went of the 7 games, it went above 5.5 maybe like one time. And there was like a 1-0 game. I was much more impressed with Dallas. I still think that I don't think we could have won a series against Dallas. You see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think there's a single team that and that's not to say that we should have been. I mean, that's like you said. So that all goes back to say, I like the deal too. I was a little critical on the hire in the beginning. But I think he's shown, what he can do, given the opportunity. So I'm okay with the hire for sure.
Yeah.
Or hire
Jordan Bennington
re-signing.
Yeah. Jordan Bennington goes down with an undisclosed injury in Game 3. Fans of the show know that I absolutely despise Jordan Bennington. He is a garbage goalie, trash person. Should have only be in the AHL, but you never want to see a player go down with an injury. So yeah, hopefully this isn't long term. But I hope that Victor Husso stays in for a little bit longer because I need Colorado to beat the shit out of the Blues. And they did last night. I haven't checked up on our fantasy the pool.
You are back to last place, but we're talking Davies at 471, I'm at 450, and you're at 440. So we're all still right there in the running. Colorado days, you push up pretty good, you push ahead fairly well, and then other days is when I get a little bit of my boost. I'm pretty good across the board right now where we're at. But I
see Colorado to go all the way.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, you really do. Colorado goes out. I think that's when it starts changing.
Yeah.
But I think even if they don't win the cup, I think just getting them to that final series, it's going to be tough to beat you.
Yeah, I mean, I just need them to go like 7 games. But then the problem with going 7 games is there's a chance they might lose that 7th game. So it's a balance of let's go 5 games, 6 games, and let's just go to the next round to lock me in a couple. Because I'd rather go to the 5th. I'd rather sacrifice this game 7 and guarantee 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, you want them to move on, especially with how depleted your roster is. If Colorado doesn't move on, lock it in. I mean, you're pretty much done. The way your guys are built. So
speaking of that, one of my players, Sammy Girard. Yeah. Speaking of Colorado, one of my players, Sammy Girard, out for the rest of the playoffs with a broken sternum. So hopefully he gets better soon. Pittsburgh Penguins sign a 2-time Stanley Cup champion Brian Rust to a 6-year deal, or I guess extend him for 6 years. I like Brian Rust. He is an amazing utility player. He really complements that team really well. I have him in fantasy leagues every once in a while. He's a good mid to late round guy, and reliable. He's usually always in the lineup.
Did you take this headline from somewhere? So a 2-time Stanley Cup champ it's just a weird way to phrase Brian Rutt. I mean, I know he is like, that's right. That's right. Like, okay, like technically, yeah. But like, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm the jerk. Like, I don't know. I just didn't think of him as the 2-time Stanley Cup winner,
sometimes, the thing is, people forget that Brian Rust is a Stanley Cup champion, and he's a good player. And sometimes people think of Brian Rust, and they're like, who? Because he's not a flashy name when you're playing with guys like Malkin and Crosby. So it's good to remind people that he's been there for a long time. But I'm sure I saw the headline. I'm sure I saw this headline somewhere and just kind of and used the 2-time Stanley Cup phrasing because I liked it.
Jim Kelly, 4-time Super Bowl loser, is just coming on into the restaurant. Come on in, Jim, you 4-time loser. I don't know. I get what you're saying. I totally hear what you're. You don't
think Jim Kelly would want to be called the 4-time conference champion instead?
I mean, he probably would, but look, sometimes you don't get everything you want, man. Sometimes you don't get everything you want. You didn't win 4 conference championships. You lost 4 Super Bowls, bud.
That would be funny if like when the trophy ceremony for the Super Bowl, if the losers they went and took the championship trophy from the conference back. It's like
that would be sick. They're like, nah. No. They've been tumbo them. Oh no.
No trophies for second place. Sorry. All right, let's move into outside the NHL.
Now that you know what's happening inside the boards, time for the rest of the headlines with news from outside the boards.
I haven't even touched my coffee yet. I've just been drinking this beer.
Hey, that's what we're supposed to do. We're contractually obligated to drink this beer during the show. Okay,
I lost my koozie there for a second. The Heat take a 2-1 series lead over the Celtics. The Celtics in Game 2 absolutely routed the Heat. I need to start watching the games. I'm a Celtics fan. So now it's about time when I start tuning into these games, and I'm going to start tuning in now. Whereas with baseball, I usually only tune into like the last game of the World Series. This is about the time I start tuning into basketball. And I'll be honest, I haven't tuned into a World Series game in probably 3 years. So when I say that, what I mean is I don't watch baseball.
It's just a dream. It's just a dream of yours. You like to
think that I
you like to sound cultured, and so you're like, yeah, of course.
It's October. I'll watch the October Classic.
They call me Mr. October Watcher. Oh, that's me.
See, gotta do the pinky and watch October baseball.
Man, so I'll watch the 198th game of the season for sure.
I was listening to this podcast, and they were talking about the difference between the British Premier League and like other sports, and he was like, yeah, baseball, there's like what 30-40 games in baseball. The dude was like, there's like 182. He's like, I'm sorry, there's 182 baseball games. Like, if the Premier League had 182 games, I would get nothing done all year.
Yeah.
How do Americans do things? They're like, well, a lot of Americans don't watch baseball. They're like, oh, so not every American treats baseball like the Premier League, like British to the Premier League. They're like, no.
That's college football, man.
He was like, yeah, if there was 182, he was like, if Arsenal played 182 games a year, count in the hangover day, he's like, I would get nothing done. That's a year. That is a full year. Yeah. But the Warriors take a 2-0 lead over Dallas. I really, it's one of those things where I can't root for a Dallas team, but I like the young guys on Dallas. And so I'm kind of split, but I'm cool with the Warriors, winning. Speaking of soccer, crazy amount of delays in last night's Nashville SC game. But they ended up getting that tie.
I'm sorry. We got a breaking news question straight off the presses. Do we think you think Emerald fucks, dude?
What?
Like bam. You think he hits, bro?
Who?
Emerald. Bam! The cooker guy, the chef.
Oh, I have no idea. Emerald.
No clue.
I don't know who.
Go ahead and Google. You gotta Google. You'll know Emerald. He'll hit you.
What's his last
Isn't
name?
that's the New Orleans one? I think it's Emerald. I think it's like John Emerald or whatever.
Emerald Lagasse?
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know that. I thought we were talking about baseball, so I was like, what are we talking about?
No, I just changed up the game.
You asking me if I think he fucks?
Yeah. You think he hit? Well, Sass is in the next room, and he probably is hearing us, so he texted me this, and so I was like, let's go. Let's get this out in the open. Let's figure it out.
I mean, he's a celebrity.
I would say, yeah. I would say, but even before, if like nobody knew him, like just like his swagger personally, like you think he's got BDE?
I don't know his swagger because I just don't. I rarely see him in stuff.
He's not in stuff. He's just a chef. He's not like
okay. No, time out. If you're talking chefs like Gordon Ramsay and stuff, he's in stuff. You know who Gordon Ramsay is.
Oh, right. But I mean, like, that's not like a normal thing, Bobby. That's not like the way of the chef.
I'm reading it. He is a celebrity chef.
Yeah,
an American celebrity chef, television personality, cookbook author.
But like a Paula Dean type guy. But like a Paula Dean type guy, not like a Ryan Seacrest type Gordon Ramsay-esque mofo, dude.
Well, I can tell you right now, there's no way this guy doesn't fuck when he has the National Best Recipe Award winner for his turkey and hot sausage chili. I mean, nothing gets the women or men, whatever way he goes, going like some turkey and sausage chili.
I mean, he's down there in Nolans, bro. I mean, he slays for sure.
Oh, so, I mean, yeah. Because here's the thing, and when you're down in New Orleans, it don't matter how you look; it's all about your swagger.
That's what I'm saying, dude. He's got that. It's about
your swagger and how you cook.
He got that Cajun vibe swagger, bro. I mean, yeah.
All
right. So I texted him back. He said, I texted him back. I told him yes, for sure. So let's get back into
no.
I don't know. I mean, he just asked. He just asked the question. And look, I'm a hard-hitting journalist. I'm a hard-hitting journalist, okay? We're answering questions as they come in, okay? As they come across our presses,
I mean,
dude.
You threw me a hardball question because I thought we were talking about baseball. I was like, what? Or even soccer. I was like, I don't know. Are you asking me if I think a professional athlete fucks? Yeah.
Baseball is easy to pivot off of, though, because nobody wants to talk about it.
100%. Speaking of soccer, the Premier League final day is today of recording, Sunday, which is, we don't usually record on Sundays. So by the time you're hearing this, it's been a couple days. Everton
is not getting relegated. So that's good news for me.
I have not kept up with the Premier League much this year, as much as I usually like to. Just been so busy. But I can tell you that my team is, they've been for what feels like the last decade, middle of the table, the Manchester United. So
yeah, it's coming down to Man City and Liverpool for the.
Yeah, I think Liverpool just
the number one spot.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm
excited. We're gonna watch like five. We got like 5 TVs set up because they're all at the same time, which I like. There's no this game is going to be played later, and so then they'll know already before they actually play. But we got a couple of races for relegation too. Teams battling to get out. So always a fun little Sunday.
So before we move on to our main topic today, we have a very special interview with Abigail Martin. I'm sitting down with her, talking Penalty Box Radio, Nashville SC, Nashville Predators, her new podcast, and the Tennessee Special Olympics, and so many others. So let's cut over to that, and we'll be back with you guys in just a minute. Hey guys, and welcome in. We have an amazing guest joining us today. We have from Penalty Box Radio, ringside reporter and contributor, Nashville SC Public Relations, co-host of the Blue Raider Extra Point and Bleeding Blue podcast, and reporter for MTN Sports. We have Abigail Morton joining us. Abigail, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Just got done dealing with some Murfreesboro traffic, so
sounds about right.
As good as I can do. So just let's hop right into it. As many people know, Penalty Box Radio on 102.5 has recently come to an end. for now at least. And, as Brandon and I, we got our start on Penalty Box Radio, and Justin Bradford kind of opened the door for us, as he did for so many other, reporters and people who love, hockey and sports and, being content creators. How did your journey start with Penalty Box Radio, and what has it done for you over these past couple of years?
It is crazy looking back, and I was actually going through, like, old audio files when they started, like, as a podcast before they got onto 102.5, so their growth has been absolutely amazing, but I started let's see, I was 15 years old, so I remember I'd gotten my permit, and my mom had to take me to the different events that he wanted me to cover, but she pressured me into going to go talk to him and just, like, kind of laying out, like, "This is what I wanna do." Back then, my head was, "I wanna be Lindsay Rowley in a few years." And so I went to him and we did like a quick audition, really late night. And I kept pushing it off because I was so scared. But I sent it to him through his Twitter DM and I was just flabbergasted. And he's like, okay, cool. So let's get you doing college and let's get you doing hockey and high school hockey. So I started out there and then I turned 18. I started covering the Predators with development camps. So I covered like SECHC tournaments, MTSU, and high school hockey, Vanderbilt as well, since they were nearby. And yeah, now I've ended up here. I'm covering the Nashville Predators, and I really wouldn't be able to had to have done anything that the experiences that I have. I would not have it if it wasn't for Justin Bradford taking a chance on a random 15-year-old girl he's never met before. Because I mean, now I do get to do so many cool things. I've gotten to verge even into different sports, which I never thought was possible. Like, let's see, football, tennis, soccer as well. I mean, everything goes down to Justin Bradford and Penalty Box Radio. So I'm extremely grateful. And it's so bittersweet that they're coming off the air on Wednesday nights, but there's other projects as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so crazy to think about. You mentioned that 15 years old. I think back to when I was 15. I could probably speak for Brandon as well. When I was 15, I was focused, on playing football and getting home and playing Call of Duty. The thought of going out and doing something like that is absolutely insane to me. And kudos to you. You've already your resume is already looking amazing.
Thank you.
At how young you are. So I guess it was probably a little bit before then that you realized that this is what you wanted to do, be, reporter, journalist. Obviously, you mentioned Lindsay Rowley. Were there any others that you kind of looked up to and said, that's, what they're doing is great and I want to do that?
Yeah, it started as a fan, and I always say this, but my mom, they always say mothers knows best, and she knew what I wanted to do before it
Yeah.
even like clicked in my head because I always knew like English, writing, storytelling, and I love being the center of attention. There's no way around it. And
Yeah.
so that's she was like, doing something in sports like that would be great for you because I played y'all growing up. And so it was my freshman year of high school so I think that was 2013 maybe, that I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And then Lindsay Rowley stepped in. I believe it was 2013 or 2014. And then, but it was really just, there were no women in sports whenever I was growing up. Like listening to Paul McCann doing PA announcing, I was always like, that's so cool. Like, imagine you being the voice of this huge team that you love. That's something that I would want to do. And so everybody throughout the Nashville Predators broadcast have always been people that I looked up to. And then going to the Atlanta Braves, I love baseball and I'm a Braves girl, that's for sure. And so just like Teresa Walker, especially, it's insane. Like we exchanged numbers the other day and I was like, this is a full circle
Wow.
moment for me. It's crazy. So
That's
there's
really
definitely the people to look up for. I mean, it's just kind of grown as I've been able to get more access, obviously, to social media. And then, because at first it was like learning the sport and what
yeah.
different things that are really like in the sports industry, which is still growing. It's insane. So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people that I looked up to in the beginning are still in the industry and it's amazing.
Yeah, that's so cool. So to talk a little bit about the Preds, most of our listeners are probably from this area, and we've all, I think now the sadness and the depression of the getting swept is kind of out of our systems. And so now that we're kind of the hangover from that is kind of done, would you say that this season in total was a positive season, or are you in the very vocal, maybe minority people who it's Stanley Cup or bust kind of deal?
I definitely think Stanley Cup or bust is very dramatic. But I will say I can't really give you a straight answer because I think it's a little bit of both
Yeah.
because there has been some progress. I mean, Romeo, Duchesne, Forsberg, Soros, there's been so much great success individually on the team, but they most definitely fell short in the playoffs. I don't care if they were playing the Colorado Avalanche. I don't care if they were playing USA, Canada, Olympic teams. There was no way to get swept for the first time in franchise history when just a few years ago you were a true contender in the playoffs, whether you were supposed to be or not. That's a different debate. But there was individual success. So I do think it's a letdown that they did get swept, couldn't even get one, and they even make it worse. They only led in the series for I think it was 2 or 3 minutes with Philip Forsberg's
Yeah.
goal in game 4. That's a little ridiculous to me, but there's been great progress from the organization. It's not all together. And I will say that I was really impressed the other day for the press conference when General Manager David Poyle took accountability and he was like, "This is my fault. Hines didn't have everything he was supposed to have, and I fell short. He kind of was like, let me fix this." And he apologized to the fans, and then kind of backtracked about Twitter. That's a different story, but I'm in a mix, that's for sure. I think because it's also so relevant and close to the date. I love that you said hangover. That was perfect because it's still on your mind of that's so bitter. It's a little bit of both.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think when you look at this season from a macro standpoint as this is an NHL team. Of course,
Mhm.
it's easy to say Stanley Cup or bust. That's the end goal at the end of the day. You know,
Right.
individual awards mean nothing. Winning a conference means nothing. It's the Stanley Cup, especially for a team who we haven't gotten to touch that trophy yet. But I think when you look at the micro cosm of it, of this was supposed to be a quote unquote competitive rebuilding year. And when I remember the first time I heard that, I was driving and I laughed out loud. I was like, that is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. Competitive rebuild. What does that even mean? We're going to what? Fall just low enough to miss the playoffs, but have a bad pick. And here we are with having 2 40-goal scorers, having, all-star, all career seasons from some players. We've got a Vezina finalist. We've got a Norris finalist. And, when the playoffs started, we did our projections. I was maybe a little bit too lean. I said that the Avs would win in 5. And I
Okay.
don't think but at the same time, I think people need to realize that this Avs team we are seeing an amazing hockey team. And
Yeah.
I think that the series was a lot closer than the series makes it seem. Obviously some of the games we rolled over, but some of those games we pushed them hard. I am in the field that this was a good season. This is things that we can look forward to. Obviously we have to
Mhm.
capitalize and move on. Like we have to sign the guys we got to sign and bring up guys from Milwaukee that we need to bring up. But that kind of takes me to my next question. John Hines recently got his contract extended for another 2 years, probably to the chagrin of many fans on Facebook and Twitter.
Mhm.
And so we've talked about on the show, Brandon and I, we were not super fans of John Hines when he came here. He's changed my mind. I think for what he was given, he has done a good job. And I'm always of the mindset that when a coach comes in, everything he did prior to this team doesn't matter. Different players,
Mhm.
different GMs. How do you feel about this contract extension? And do you think that do you agree that he should have got his contract extended, or do you think we should have shown him the door?
I'm really not surprised that he did get an extension just because this team doesn't like change. And I was joking with my mom the other day. I was
Yeah.
like, men don't know how to do commitment or communication. And this franchise is kind of doing that in a little bit just because they've had the same coaches. John Hines is only the third ever franchise head coach. Obviously, David Poyle's also been here the whole time. So at what point are they ever going to flip a switch? If they do ever, like what degree does this team have to get to that's so low enough to make those types of decisions? But I will say Hines' contract doesn't surprise me from that angle. There is a good bit of coaches that are on the market, though. And I know everyone was like, oh, Barry Trotz, which I wouldn't have been
Yeah.
opposed to. I was always a big Barry Trotz fan. But with it being 2 years, I think that's way more comforting than heck 6 or even just 3.
Yeah.
So it gives you kind of that little bit of time space where it's not too much, it's not too little. If you need to see the door, you do. So I think it was a good deal from the side of being a fan base, but also deciding, is this the right coach to put the Nashville Predators back into contention? And especially if Poyle has taken that accountability and he's going to give Hines the pieces he needs to, whether that's re-signing Forsberg or if he walks, I think a lot of people are going to go up in flames with pitchforks. But
Yeah.
making either that type of deal or seeing if they're going to do rentals, if Luke Cunnin or Ellie Tolvanen are going to stay, if they're going to progress. I think a lot has to do with what's going to happen in the offseason before we can really judge his next 2-year time.
For sure. I agree with you completely. I think, if he makes it to the end of his contract, that's 4 years. I think 4
Mhm.
years is a good amount of time for a coach to either prove that he is on the upswing and they are just outside of that window, or okay, you're obviously not doing much with this team. It's time to move on. And a lot of people, like you said the name Barry Trotz. Trust me, I don't know if I would like to have Barry Trotz back, or I just don't want Barry Trotz to go to another team in the Central. Because I know he's been to Winnipeg and Chicago, and to me, that I don't like that at all. I'd rather him just retire. But a lot of people are like, oh, go get this guy, go get these guys, and it's not as easy as just getting a coach. A coach also wants to have to
Mhm.
come to your team, and I think a lot of Preds fans forget that it's a two-sided deal. Um,
Right.
but yeah, so obviously Preds no longer in it. Stanley Cup playoffs are happening right now. What are your thoughts and any surprises you have on some of these matchups that we've been seeing?
I think the biggest thing isn't even from the matchup itself. I saw that I think it was the NHL that posted the other day. It was Wayne Gretzky's bracket, and it was so spot on from the last time I looked at it. But he's got the Blues beating the Avalanche, which is making me rethink it because I'm not surprised that the Blues are going to put up a fight. I mean, they just went through a heck of a series like everybody else did. But at first, with my bracket, I will tell you, I have the Avalanche playing against, oh goodness, who is it? I'm going to tell you the wrong thing. I want to say it is the Hurricanes. I could be wrong,
Okay.
but I have the Avalanche winning it all. That's for sure.
Yeah,
But
I
it
do
was
too. Yeah,
super okay. But
I've got them beating
Gretzky has
Tampa
the
in
Blues.
6. Wow.
Okay. Yeah, right?
Wow.
He had the fact that he has enough confidence to say that the Blues are going to be first of all the Avalanche and then to pass through. If they give them a run for their money, I mean that's fine, more power to you. But I don't think that we're going to see Lawton have a three-peat. But this Avs team is ridiculous, and I would keep
Yeah.
joking that Philip Forsberg's going to go there.
Yeah, I honestly, that would be an insane and very scary thing to happen.
Yeah.
You know, I I I sometimes have to check myself because I am very, very biased, not just against the Blues, but also if anyone who listens to the show knows my absolute disdain for Jordan Bennington. I have such a disdain for Jordan Bennington that I can
Sure, it's worse
never
now.
it gets worse. And so I don't see them being able to beat this Colorado team in a series. I think with Colorado being up 2-1, tonight's game is very important.
Mhm.
I think if Colorado takes the series 3-1, they're walking away with this series in 5. For me, I am absolutely stunned at what's happening in Florida right now. This Florida
Mhm.
team, who all season I have the beginning of the season, I finally just said, you know what, Florida, I have talked so much crap about them for years now. I think that they're going to have a good season. I think that they are a favorite to win the cup, and
Mhm.
they are absolutely choking in this. And so, do you think this is Florida choking, or this is just this Tampa team is so good that people sometimes forget how good this Tampa team is because their 2 cups kind of came in a weird COVID season kind of
Yeah.
thing?
I think it's a little bit of both, but I'm also biased with the Panthers because of Patrick Hornquist. And now that you're saying it, I remember I have Avalanche and Panthers in my final.
Okay.
But going aside from that, I mean, they struggled for a minute against the Capitals as well. So it could be one of those things where it gets into the locker room, it starts to get into the mentality and plays with it. But also Tampa is such a great team, and they've shown even through weird times that they can come and step up in the playoffs. And I will say, kind of just to compare it, when we were talking to Hines the other day, he was saying he was talking to the youth of the team, and they were like, the hardest part of my career wasn't AHL to NHL. It was NHL regular season to NHL playoffs.
Yeah.
That is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. So if you can kick it into that extra gear, that's where the momentum needs to come. And Matthias Ekholm said that of the 2016-17 Cup run. So if that's
Yeah.
when things start to piece together, that's a good puzzle looking to me.
Yeah. Yeah, Brandon actually, we did our brackets for the show. He has Florida beating Colorado in the final.
Okay.
And I remember saying to him, man, because I've got, Colorado Tampa, that it's a different beast. Regular season, playoffs. Florida's a good team. I think that they are,
Mhm.
and I had Tampa beating them in 7, but there is something to be said about a team like Tampa who has the experience recently, and
Right.
they kind of have the same roster as they have the last 2 seasons. I mean, you've got
Mhm.
guys like Kucherov, Sergachev, Hedman. Like, these are guys that just click together and at any moment can just take over a game and a series like they have been against Florida.
Yeah.
So obviously, my next question was, who do you think wins it all? And you said you got Colorado. Are you more confident or less confident in that choice now than you were in the beginning? Without taking Wayne Gretzky's bracket into consideration.
I think if anyone would take over the Avalanche, it's either going to come in one of two places. It'll be the Blues or it will be the Lightning. It really just depends who's going to get there, obviously, first from each side. But I feel pretty good about it, other than I actually don't even think I had the Panthers moving on. I think I had the Capitals pushing past, but I could be
Oh,
wrong.
wow.
No, that wouldn't make sense because I have them in the final. I'm such a visual person. I can't even think straight right now.
Oh, I'm the same way.
But
I wish I had my bracket in front of me. I really only know the
right.
final.
I
So,
can tell you whatever I want to right now. I'm basically just lying through my teeth
yeah.
until I figure it out. Maybe one time it'll click. But I feel pretty good about it. I except for the fact I had Preds going. You said game 5. Is that right? You said game 5 was when
Yeah,
you had
I had
Avs
Colorado in
taking it.
5.
Okay, that's when I had them as well, 5 or 6. I had at least the Preds winning a game or two,
Yeah, I thought
even
they could steal
after
a game at home,
Soros.
but
Right.
yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
thought it was going to
So I
be
made
one
the
of those
bracket
things.
after Saros was out, so I was a little. If Saros was in, I think they could have maybe taken it 6 or 7, but I was
Yeah.
iffy without Saros being in there.
Then obviously that was a very fair assessment. So props to you there. I should have waited.
um, so kind of a new thing to Nashville, only because they finally got their stadium built. You're working with them now, Nashville SC. I went to the game, I think last week on Wednesday. Absolutely, it was the
Okay.
first game I got to go to. Absolutely amazing experience. Was going to go this weekend game. I was busy, and I'm kind of thankful I didn't get to go because it got
Right.
rained out. So how did you get involved working with them, and what are your thoughts on their new stadium? I mean, that
Oh
thing is, in
goodness.
my opinion, a beaut.
It's amazing. I'm so glad to hear that you went. I missed that through Twitter, but that was a great game to come to. And you got extra soccer too, which is my mom went and she knows nothing about soccer either. So I was like, look, you came to the one soccer game that's kind of like hockey in a way, but still not because they kept playing through the minutes. But I got started through there from, I applied for an internship and I've been wanting to do that since my sophomore year of college or maybe even a freshman because it was pre-COVID. But Cutler Klein, who is an alum of Penalty Box Radio, works for the digital team there. And so he's been talking to me about it forever before they got into the MLS, and I just wasn't old enough to do it. And so I finally, the last day to apply, I was like, okay, we're going to jump out of the comfort zone and let's do it. Let's try. The worst you're going to hear is no, and you're going to hear no if you don't do it. And so I did, and I've fallen so far in love with the organization. The Geodis part is the prettiest thing that I've ever laid my eyes on.
Yeah.
It looks like a video game, and I still get chills every single time that I walk in there. The environment is amazing. They've got all the food vendors are Nashville related, so you get a true Nashville experience while you're there, even if you're out of town. But those roadies in the back line, they are pumping. When you think of Bridgestone
Yeah.
Arena at its peak, I think they excel that. So, I
Oh,
mean,
for
they
sure.
have it going
Uh, you
on.
know, yeah, we've got, Brandon and I, the show we've got the general admission season tickets. So, like, in that Wednesday game, we sat maybe 4 rows behind the net, right behind the drum line. It is, because I think I've only gone to a couple soccer games. It's not my main sport, but I'm a fan of functions and events and sports. So I go for
Yeah.
and so I start to learn the chants, and it is an absolutely amazing time. The excitement when they score is on par, if not more exciting than, when the Preds score. So I, absolutely have fallen in love with going to those games. So it was only, I think it was the season before this one, they moved to the Western Conference.
Mhm.
And I think we kind of all knew that was going to happen. do you think that was a good thing? Or obviously the Western Conference in the MLS is such a tough conference.
Yeah.
We went out there and we beat Montreal, who was, I think, second in the East. And then
Mhm.
and we, at the time, I think we were eighth in the West. I think now we're up to fourth or fifth after that tie against Atlanta. So what are your thoughts on that move to the Western Conference?
I think it's definitely paid off, and I think it only shows that a testament to them. They started the season 8 games on the road. They never got to see Geodis until I think it was like 3 days before their first ever match at
Yeah.
home. And so the fact that they were able to, they had Philadelphia Union come in on May 1, and they were able to hang in. I was very nervous because this team, I'm a very superstitious person, and truthfully, I didn't really get to watch soccer before this season, before I came on. And so it was a whole new learning experience for me. But going to see how competitive they were against Philadelphia Union, they didn't just lay down. They were number one whenever they came over. I think we were down to
Yeah.
eighth or so. So standing wise, if you look at it, I think it looks a little like, oh, maybe they're not that great. But I personally don't think that's true because the Western Conference is so stacked. It is so talented. But when you look at points, you're looking at, oh, like this is how many times that they're going to draw, and those points are going to add up from that, like similar to like hockey with an
Yeah.
overtime. So I think it was a good move. I think it's only going to push them further rather than just laying down and accepting, we're facing a lower par competitor, let's play to that. I think it pushes them to a next level, so it makes them up to succeed this season, and it's going to follow up as well.
Yeah, for sure. So you recently, I'm sure anyone on Twitter has seen it, but you have started a new podcast, the Bleeding Blue podcast. Tell us a little bit about that and the origins behind that.
I'm so excited we're doing that. So it is Bleeding Blue Nashville that I'm doing with Sam Fleming. We were kind of just texting. He said it was the Calgary game, so the last home regular season game, and that he was like, okay, let's do something, because we knew at that time that PBR was going to take a back seat off of 102.5, and Glenn and Justin were going to take a seat back. So we're like, let's continue the voice and do something kind of similar to if we were still going to be on 102.5, and let's talk all things Nashville sports. Let's talk soccer, let's talk Titans, let's talk Preds, and really just gave them Music City sports experience. And so we've just started that right now. We're walking through the end of the Predators regular season, talking a little about soccer, but we'll have a bunch of special guests that'll come in, hopefully some athletes. I don't want to spill anything, but I reached out to one today. We'll see what he thinks, but I'm really excited. I love the intro in itself. It's all a bunch of game things like slid together. And so it's something that we're very passionate about, and we're hoping to take PBR, continuing it on, as well as a bunch of other podcasts are doing.
That's so awesome to hear. Where can everyone find that and listen to the podcast?
It's on actually on all like streaming services. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Music. Our Twitter handle is Bleeding Blue NSH is where you can find us at. Or if you look up Sam Fleming and or my Twitter account, we'll have it linked to there as well. But it's on Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud as well. So there's a few different ways that you can listen to.
Awesome. And for you folks that watch on YouTube or listening, we'll throw the link in the show description as well. So be sure to check them out over there. So before we we always kind of talk some stuff outside of sports with all of our guests. A handful of questions. So, but the one that we always ask, and we kind of take a tally. So we'll just throw that out there: Star Wars or Marvel? Which one are you?
I'm easily Marvel. I've never watched a Star Wars movie in my life. Don't tell Justin
All
Bradford.
right.
He will come after me.
Well, I guess we'll figure out if he actually listens to this show or not, if he comes after you or
This
not.
is your tell.
Yeah. Oh, but all right. Is there anything? Do you have anything to plug before we sign off?
You got Bleeding Blue NSH on Twitter, and then my social account is Abigail D. Martin. But make sure you're keeping up with all things Penalty Box Radio. Justin Bradford has a ton of new projects coming up. Going to be doing movies, and he's going to be going over like music composers. A lot of cool things that are set up with him, Gover, and Jim Chandler from 107.5 The River. So a lot of exciting things to come up. But I think that does it for me. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Abigail, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, thanks for joining in and, watching or listening to this interview. I hope you all, having a great day. And Abigail, thanks again for coming on. All right, guys, welcome back. Thank you so much, Abigail Martin, for coming on. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview.
Sorry I had to miss it, man. Sorry I had to miss it.
Absolutely amazing writer and contributor for Penalty Radio and so many other things that she does for Middle Tennessee and Nashville area. So main topic of the day, continuing on Stanley Cup playoffs, round 2 impressions. I don't think the round 2 will be over by Thursday when this airs. I think we'll still have a couple of games left. But right now, Colorado has taken they won game 3, so they have a 2-1 lead in the series.
2-1 lead.
Yeah, and with Bennington going down, yeah,
I was so close to getting that first week win.
Yeah,
but you called it. You said game 2, St. Louis takes it. So good call on that.
Yeah. And so Florida, Tampa Bay is taking it to Florida right now. They have a 2-0 lead as they play today on Sunday, but right now Tampa has a 2-0 lead, and they have been just routing Florida. Carolina has been not routing, but been solid wins against New York. They have a series lead of 2-0. And this Calgary Edmonton might be the best series, I think. This Battle of Alberta,
my goodness,
series tied 1-1. What an absolutely amazing series, and just scoring at will.
I mean, and what was it? It was there. Edmonton was down like 5-2 at one point, and kind of storms back 6-2, maybe. I mean, those games have been crazy, man. Just really high scoring, and like scores can come from anywhere. McDavid and Draisaitl are really stepping up to the plate, though. I am very impressed with how they've been this round. But on the same side of the coin, different side of the coin, I guess. I don't know, man.
I was like,
but
same side of the coin, okay.
Calgary has looked so good too. Their stars are coming to play. I mean, I was surprised at how exciting this series was. I figured it was going to be pretty boring one way or the other. I mean, not boring, but just not. I didn't know what to expect, I guess.
Yeah.
But I expected more of the grinded out type of games in the Calgary Edmonton series rather than the ones we're getting over Carolina and New York. That is just a slow grinding game that they're playing. I mean, very interesting because teams that you would think about, those two teams having offensive weapons that can score goals. So we got a battle there, Carolina.
I thought, and I don't think Carolina sweeps. I think Rangers can win 2 games, but Carolina is looking good.
Those futures.
I think Tampa is. I personally think that my bracket of Colorado versus Tampa is looking good because Tampa's dealing with Florida right now is scary for the rest of the conference.
Looking like a 2-time champion right now, which was always that possibility that they just turn it on at the right time.
Yeah, and like I said, these guys have experience. Yes, their championships have come in weird COVID years, but the fact is, they 2 years in a row they've won the hardest trophy to win in sports.
Doesn't matter. I mean,
and I
would say 2 years ago was harder. Right? Yeah, I would say it was harder 2 years ago than rather than easier. With all of the different protocols and what they had to deal with. So no, I mean I'm with you. Tampa Bay is looking scarier and scarier, and I'm not wanting to see them advance if I'm Carolina or New York. Absolutely.
Yeah. But all right, before we move on to joke of the week, Brandon, why don't you tell us about our friends over at Manscaped?
Yeah, man. I'll tell you. Last night we were talking about that rained out game, and it was wet. It just felt Lawnmower 4.0 would have handled that rain no problem. All right, brother. That's what you get with Manscaped. Support for Pucks Out Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who's best in men's below the waist grooming. Their products are precision engineered for your family jewels. Manscaped's performance package, the ultimate hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trusted Manscaped with this exclusive offer: 20% off, free shipping with the code PUCKSOUT. That's PUCKSOUT at manscaped.com. That's 8 million balls, Bob. Do a double check
For
for me.
1, 2,
4
3.
million.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I had to count by tens.
There's
but I got there.
there's probably like a margin of error, though, right? I mean, because not everybody's gonna have 2 testicles, and not somebody may have 3
8,000,001.
testicles. Well, I'm just saying it's a plus or minus.
Yeah.
You got that
Yeah.
margin of error. Because but the thing is, 2 balls, 3 balls. That's not the products are not exclusive to.
Yeah, the lawnmower can deal with
you're gonna,
however many balls you have.
if you got 5. That's fine. That's okay.
Ooh.
It's all about it's all about the
You don't
hygiene.
have to
It's all
brag
about
about
keeping
it, but
It's obviously if the thing is, somebody's like, does somebody have 5 balls in their life? If nobody's told you, you don't know anybody. You don't know anybody that has 5
because they're
balls in their
talking
life.
about it.
That's the first thing you say. That's like having that's like a CrossFitter or like a vegan. Like you're gonna know. You're gonna know within that you're gonna know immediately. So if you know somebody with 5 balls, hey, pucks, use code pucks out 20% off. Even though they have about 40% more. No, that'd be like 100% more, right? They have over 100% more balls.
Like 200% more, I think.
It'd be 150
because they have 5.
Right? Because 2 balls, so that would be
it's too early
100%
for math,
extra. I'm telling you. I mean, look, I really got myself into this by starting with the math read. I guess I'm going through this. I'm trying to hype up Manscaped, and now like all I'm doing is really hating on math. Is what it sounds like. Yesterday at that game is hot, man. I had that ball deodorant, had that crop reviver. I had my performance boxer briefs on. Love them. Always be talking them things up. But to reiterate, 20% off, free shipping with code pucks out. That's PUCKSOUT at manscaped.com. That's 20% off, free shipping at manscaped.com using the code pucks out. Oh, forgot to tell you, ordered that cologne, bro. So I'm gonna let you know how that goes. See what's up with it. I hope it smells good. I mean, if it smells bad, I'll probably just never bring it up.
Yeah, I'm sure it won't smell bad. All right, let's move into our joke of the week.
The weird. Corey Perry. See, I don't like this. Wild. I think the first read was a good one. Now I'm overthinking it. Outlandish.
Each 6th chick sat on a stick. Little tongue twister.
And downright dumb.
You're kidding me.
It's time for the joke of the week.
All right, guys. All right, you got this one. This looks like a Mighty Morphin fraud alert. What you got?
Love it. I don't know about you. Everybody had that show that when they were a kid, they were younger. That shaped probably a little bit who you were. Oh, how the mighty have fallen, though. The Red Power Ranger actor, among 19 accused in North Texas PPP scheme. Sad day. I mean, you want the Power Rangers to, be a force of good and not stealing all of our money, which was rampant during the pandemic with all of this stuff. So, I mean, his name is Austin St. John. I can't say that.
I saw that.
That's a name of a guy that's gonna fraud you out of some stuff. That's not to be offensive. Not all Austin St. Johns are gonna do that, but I'm just saying, it's they should have looked at the loan more carefully.
Yeah.
Do you think that he because he was a Power Ranger, he knew a guy? He was like, all right, no, I've got my guy in the Justice Department. He's a huge Power Ranger guy. I'm going to give him a call. I'm going to shout out to him, see what's up there.
Yeah, this is absolutely insane. I was never a big Power Rangers fan as a kid. There was one movie that I did love. I believe it was the one like the 1998 movie with the Ivan Ooze. Remember the purple monster thing?
Yeah, the one that got real big in the city and they morphed together in the suit.
I think
White
so.
Ranger.
Maybe.
The White Ranger.
Yeah.
From the Green Ranger,
but
Tommy. Yeah, I was a big Power Ranger guy. So your boy still
Yeah.
am. Not as much anymore because they're fraudsters, but
Yeah, this is absolutely insane. How much does it say how much he frauded? At least 3.5 million. 16
goodness.
fraudulent loans.
I mean, he was best known for his role in the 1990s children's superhero show Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, where he played the Red Power Ranger. According to IMDb, St. John played the Gold Ranger in Power Rangers Zao TV show, and more recently in 2020, I guess he revived it. He's back. Power Rangers Beast Morphers. He's
You know
back.
what I love though?
He's back as a Power Ranger that is defrauding the government for $3.5 million.
I love how on this list of
where it says
defendants that
AKA.
they have,
Where it says AKA.
they have everyone's name on here, but they have his, and it says Jason Lawrence Geiger, aka Austin St. John, aka the Red Power Ranger of 47 of them.
You're telling me this man was like, I need a stage name, and people are like, go with Austin St. John. That will be good. It's gonna be dope. You can pick anything in the world. You've essentially gone with Phoebe, Princess Consuela Banana Hammock at this point.
Yeah.
Why?
They're like, listen, as
But
long as you
AKA
only
the
take acting
Red-
roles in Canada, you can have any job you want.
You are good.
That is like
but
the most Canadian name in the world.
I can just see
Hello,
them.
my name is Austin St. John, eh?
When they walk in and he's been arrested, they're like, are you Jason Lawrence Geiger, aka Austin St. John, aka the Red Power Ranger? He's like, I mean, I don't generally go by that, but yes. like is he
They should have
going
also
by
put.
this?
He's like,
he
I
going
go
by this in
by
life?
the Gold Power Ranger. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Come on, don't you
It
remember
would have
my
been funny if they
short
did, but
bit?
AK. It would have been funny if they also put AKA the Gold Power Ranger on there as well.
Like, if you're an actor or actress and you get arrested, are they gonna put AKA like all of these people? Like, when you get booked, they're like, "Oh no, we've got Tom Hanks here. Go ahead and lock in for some paperwork. Lock in for some paperwork, boys, because we're
the court photographer, the court type lady would gonna be like, "All right, I'm in for a day," because every time they say his name, they have to say, "The defendant, please state your name." Well,
stenographer. That's a stenographer. Okay, put some respect on their name. All right, they got the hardest job in the whole courtroom. All right. What a joke! All of these folks are jokes. I can't. I mean,
Hey, don't steal from people.
Well,
all right,
but
unless you want to pull a Robin Hood and steal from the rich and give it to the poor.
Right. This is the rich stealing from us. All right. This is an opposite Robin Hood. This is
which is also just called everyday life. So
this is a Robin Hood. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I was on the wrong. Okay. So let's move into our pop culture. We're talking. I started watching Halo. Absolutely love it. I can't wait to watch it some more. I'm only about 2 episodes in.
Okay.
It is so nostalgic. When I did not do any research on the show coming in. I didn't know that it was going to be about Master Chief. I thought it was going to be maybe a prequel, and it was going to. But then when when John 117 stepped on the fucking screen, dude, I was like, I fanboyed. I was like, hell yeah! Ooh. Now my wife, my wife was like, there's a lot going on here, because me being who I am, you know, the nerd that I am, was pausing and be like, so let me give you quick info on this guy.
She didn't care, bro. You ruined it. You ruined the show for her. Just let her watch
it. Well, she was also asking questions. She was like, so, and the thing was, so the guy, the guy who plays, what's his name, Vischer or something like that, the guy who takes over Madrigal. When we started, I paused it for a second, and on Amazon Prime, it shows his face. And I'm like, oh, I love that guy. He plays an amazing bad guy. I wonder if he's a bad guy. And that's like, but he's a human. So maybe not. She's like, what do you mean human? Is there aliens in this? I'm like, oh, let me tell you real quick.
No. You should have said no.
I was like, so you've got the Covenant, right? And in the Covenant, you got the Sangheili, the Sanghai. I went into a deep dive of all the different species of the Covenant. She's like, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care.
Should have gone with Covenant. Right. Yeah. You should have said, yeah, there's aliens. And then that should have been the end of the conversation, Bobby.
Yeah.
You said, "Oh, well, she was asking questions." Yeah, she just wanted to know if there's aliens. She doesn't care the lore of the said aliens. Like, I bet you were like, "Oh, but don't worry. Later on, we got the Banished coming." Like, don't she doesn't care, Bob. Just let her watch and enjoy the show.
I'm not spoiling. I'm not spoiling anything about the Arbiter because maybe I can get her to watch the cutscenes of all the games with me after the fact, and we can enjoy the amazing story of Halo together. Listen. It was weird. I never really. I mean, obviously, growing up in high school and stuff in middle school, I played Halo like crazy. But I was never a huge Halo multiplayer guy. But I loved the Halo single player and the cutscenes and the story of Halo was such an amazing story. And I'm so excited to see where this goes. And I was
me too.
I never just in big spoiler alerts for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. I was not expecting them to go the route of Master Chief kind of going AWOL in the first couple episodes a little bit. Because that just to me seems so foreign for Master Chief to do that. So I like that they're almost humanizing him a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I mean, you're
not
gonna get
foreign,
into
but there's a difference between going AWOL, I'm doing what needs to be done to defeat the aliens, and his programming got messed. Like, it's a little different than in the game, so I like it.
Sure,
sure. I wonder
you definitely got to. You definitely got to take it how it is. You know what I'm saying?
I would like to see. I would like to see if
world.
the series. I would like to see if the series ends with maybe the fall of Reach or the beginning of the Battle of Reach that then leads into the Autumn of Pillar and then leads into Combat Evolved. But I'm not sure if the timeline matches up with that. Because I read the Fall of Reach book and it is an amazing book about the Battle of Reach and how they introduced the Spartan 3s and stuff and how a lot of the Spartan 3s died at Reach. But I'm getting too deep into it.
It's a world in which I love that I haven't done enough fan service to. You know how much I can get into the lore of some stuff. And so it's a world that I haven't really got into that. And I think I'm kind of glad about that. I need a show like this where they can explore a bunch of stuff. And I'm not mad about them, not following the source material or whatever. But I'm loving it. I think that it's just finally good to be able to get some explore some stories in this type of world. But I think they've done a good job. I mean, it's been a little difficult. There was some CGI points where you're like, but it seems like they tried to go for production value for sure.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna jump straight into what's snapping your stick.
Bobby and Brandon are about to find out exactly what snaps their sticks.
All right, we share a what's snapping our stick this week because this happened to us at the Wednesday game, which you forgot I was there apparently.
I mean, it wasn't. I forgot you were there. It's just we've been to so many games the past couple of weeks.
And we didn't sit next to each other because we sat on the opposite ends of the thing. But
because we hate each other now.
Yeah. it adds drama to the show. Okay?
Spoiler. Right. It's a will they or won't they fight type of situation. It's better than busting a nut.
So this past Wednesday, we went to the Nashville game against Montreal. Nashville got an amazing win. That first goal was so pretty. I watched it again when I got home. And we go on TV a lot. I forgot to tell you that when I got back and my wife told me that when they did the opening for they're like, welcome to Nashville. And the first scene of is us, center screen right behind the net. Ooh. And it's just us standing there. We've got beers in our hands. Yeah. So we were the introduction to Nashville. But so this first, I'm going to start with the thing that I don't really mind. When Nashville SC scores, people jump up and down and they throw beer up in the air, kind of like that Ole Miss, that bar in England. And they throw it up in the air. Fine, you get a little wet. Everyone's having fun. You're excited. Right. Not a big deal. You get a little damp. At the end of the game. Yeah, at the end of the game, this guy who was right in front of us clearly went and got a beer 10 minutes before the game ends and just sits there and waits. And as soon as the final whistle goes, just starts throwing that beer on people and not just he's slinging it.
He didn't drink it.
And we're right back. We get he bought a $16 beer, probably maybe more because it was not a light beer.
He bought 2 for his friends too. I mean, they had 3 full beer. I'm with you. Like, I personally do not like the throwing of beer, especially that expensive beer. But
I'm not mad
for the right, exactly. During a goal score, have at it. This is the supporters section. I signed up for this.
Yeah.
There was absolutely no need to do that. We all got to go home. Like, you just poured a full beer on me, my dude.
And here's the thing. I was driving, so I wasn't drinking. But if I'd gotten pulled over for like maybe for some regular traffic stop, they'd be like, I'd have to be like, sir, I know I smell like alcohol, but someone poured their $17 beer all over me.
Beer. He wouldn't even believe you. Like, he'd be like, no, nobody would do that. Right. I mean, but it was just the pure intent. Those guys were so drunk in front of us. They went and bought beers and held on to them, didn't drink them for the rest of the game, and then threw them on us.
Yeah. And I do have one small snap to my stick that I just remembered. It being a soccer game, I quickly remembered that it is not a hockey game. And when the Canadian national anthem came on, something that you and I love, it is a banger of a song, and we respect it.
Yeah.
At the soccer game, the first thing we heard was people behind us going, "Fuck Canada," and stuff like that. Like, guys, don't do that. Canada's pretty dope.
That was one dude, and he was way drunk. It was the guy that, we talked about this guy, the guy that gets in a drunk loop, that he keeps saying the same thing over and over again. He kept saying, "Win the ball! Win the ball!" So, dude, that guy was, it was annoying. Like, you don't have to sing along or even, I'm not even saying you have to be ultra uber respectful and quiet, but like, dude, let's not yell. Like, especially like, come on, man. It was just so unnecessary. Like, a lot of that was unnecessary. Honestly, we sat up for the one yesterday for when we were up there. While we were there, we were kind of up top, like, which I was cool with, like off the side and up top. Like, I like being a part of the supporter section, and I don't mind being up in the thick of it. But also, like, I keep, being right in the thick of it. You're always being asked to cheer and be a part of the thing. And not that I have a mind of that, and I like being, but like, I'm a game watcher. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
the same way.
Intently on the game.
It's hard for me to. I'm so ADD that it's hard for me to like focus on the game and also like cheer and stuff. This actually, and that reminds me of a really funny story. When I was in middle school, I was dating this girl at the time, and her and her parents took me to a Preds game when I was in middle school. And I was sitting next to her, and I'm watching the game. Like, I am intensely watching the game as a fan. After the fact, I didn't realize that like at one point her dad like reached out and was like, "Hey Bob," but like I'm watching the game and it's kind of loud, and and instead of like tapping me or like trying to get me, he just said, "Hey Bob" once, and I was like, "Oh," and he got like he thought I was ignoring him. I'm like, "I'm watching the game." He's like, "Well, you ignored me and my family the whole game." I'm like, "Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean I didn't?" Well, you guys, he was like, "You were just you looked mad and you were watching the ice all the time." I was like, "I was concentrating. I was a fan of the game."
I didn't know that it was if y'all wanted if you wanted to take me out with your parents and us have a kumbaya discussion, you probably should have picked dinner and not a show, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a right way to do this. Lady.
Imagine if this was a movie and they're like, "Hey, Bob," I'm like,
hey, so how are you liking Tennessee? You're like, it's really good, Linda. I really appreciate you bringing it along.
But hey, we're in the middle of Schindler's List, so maybe let's calm it down.
Yeah, like, right. Like, they were making out during Schindler's List.
But all right, guys, we will see you guys next week. Once again, thank you so much to Abigail Martin for sitting down with us. Thank you all for hanging out with us.
Thanks, Abigail.
For Brandon, I'm Bobby. We're Pucks Out Podcast. Stay awesome, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Pucks Out Podcast. To see what other ridiculousness the guys are up to, check them out on Twitter and Instagram @PucksOutPod.